Welcome to Secrets from the Saddle podcast. I'm Sylvie, your host, fellow cyclist, bike club founder, cycling coach, bike race junkie, just truly super passionate about cycling. My journey with cycling started 20 years ago when I opened a spin studio, started a women's race team, and founded a women's only cycling club called Cycle Fit Chicks. I'm super thrilled to reveal all aspects that make the world of cycling operate. I'm so excited to be able to bring you interesting people from around the world, pro cyclists, recreational cyclists, coaches, event organizers, bike shop owners, everything and everyone you need to know or ever wondered about when it comes to cycling. I know you'll enjoy this episode. This podcast episode is sponsored by Shopify Queen Sarah Jensel of Jensel & Co. Do you currently have a Shopify site selling products or services that aren't performing as well as you're hoping? Or do you have a product or service you'd love to sell, but you have no idea where to start? Well, my girl, Sarah Jensel, the Shopify Queen, is a person to talk to. She is amazing and brilliant at branding and is currently helping me completely revamp my website on Shopify to showcase my new brand and selling my products. So if this sounds like something you've been looking for, please reach out to her on IG at Sarah Jensel, that's Jansel. Leave her the code Sylvie, that's Sylbie, and she will add you to her free Shopify Facebook group, where she coaches weekly on Shopify strategies and has tons of content to help you in your Shopify journey to building your online business. So don't forget, DM her on Instagram at Sarah Jensel, Jansel, and leave her the code Sylvie. She'll reach out and add you to her community. Thank you very much and have an amazing day and enjoy the episode. All right, welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling Podcast with your host, Sylvie Dow, here sitting in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And I have two amazing ladies. We have Karla Williams and Jamie-Lee Wright, who are in the UK. Now, I tell you guys, I have been waiting for this podcast interview for a long time. And I'm going to tell you why. Because this is all around Zwift. Zwift Racing, Women's Zwift Racing League. Is that how you say it? The WT. Yeah. And why is because I joined this year. I joined under Karla, under the AEONIAN team, and it was just like mind-blowing about how organized these girls are, and the whole world around Zwift Women's Racing League is online. And that's why I bugged Karla to ask if she would come on and talk about it, because I don't think there's anywhere where somebody is talking about this, about the details, about what goes on in the background of organizing. And I am really, really grateful that these girls came on, and we are going to have a conversation about Zwift Women's Race League. Because thank you so much, Karla and Jamie-Lee. I'm really, I was really looking forward to this. Really am. So welcome on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right. So what I always love to ask first is how you got into cycling, and then from each one of you, how you got into cycling, and then how you guys met, and kind of how you decided that this was something you wanted to do online in Zwift. So Jamie-Lee, would you like to start?
Sure, I can start. My story, it was almost like an accident, to be honest with you. There was an accident involved, actually.
Oh, no.
I used to run. I lived in Bermuda. I used to run a lot. It's very easy when the sun is shining and the sky is blue, and the temperature isn't too bad. So yeah, my life was a lot of running, and I was ultra running. So I got a
Oh,
bike
wow.
to switch it up a little bit because the miles on my knees and my hips and everything was just a little bit much. So initially it was just to get a bike and try and get a bit of endurance that was a bit kinder on my body. So it just started out as a hobby on the road to begin with. And I found that I actually really quite enjoyed it. I entered a local competition because I thought you could rock up, you know how in a running race you can rock up to a 5K, just turn up, have a little jog.
Oh,
I
yeah.
tried doing that in a cycling race.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really work that way. No, but the girls were super lovely and sort of let me tag along in the back, and they guided me, so it was absolutely fine. But from there I ended up joining like a few friends and would cycle a little bit more. The actual Zwifting side of it came only about 6 months later. I had a Zwift Academy, so I borrowed a trainer. I quite, at that point in time, I started winning races within the first few months of riding, and I was like, oh, I like winning. This is great. I want to train a bit more.
Yeah.
This is cool. So I borrowed a trainer and I did the Zwift Academy. And during that time, at the last week of you have your workouts, the last week I actually got hit by a car. So that put an end to everything. That put an end to running, that put an end to cycling. So from then, during the recovery, I was obviously a bit terrified of riding outside. I got involved in Zwift a bit more, but I knew nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. Besides the Zwift Academy, few like workouts and group rides I'd done, I didn't know anything. But through the forums, I was introduced to a team, which Karla happened to be on. So the story then goes into how I know Karla, but I'll let Karla introduce herself and how she got into cycling first.
So before, Jamie, are you still in Bermuda?
No, we moved actually to the UK about 18 months ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
my partner got a job here, and I reluctantly said goodbye to this beautiful beautiful weather. Hello to the grey skies, although we've got a gorgeous day today. But no, we're in the UK now, so been here for the last 18 months.
Perfect. And then you're like, yay, I can be closer to Karla.
Yes, yeah, and we've met up and we have intentions of meeting up more. It's life sometimes happens and stops that, so it's not been as frequent, but it's definitely on the agenda.
We're not that far away from each other either.
No, we're not. We're only an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not too far. So no. Karla, how did you get into cycling?
Yeah, no, wow, like Jamie. I just I really liked starting cycling before I got pregnant with my child, just for a little bit when I used to go out for the countryside with my husband, and then as I gave birth to my child, and 3 months later I started cycling as a way to recover because I had a cesarean section. So I have to rebuild the muscles that were cut and everything. It was so painful. So it was a nice way to have a break, a me time, which I think is very important for new parents. Some moms are so overwhelming that it's just nice. I was very lucky to get encouraged by my husband to used to go for an hour's ride every other day, and get some time to think. And cycling is so good for you mentally. So I started cycling from there. I got involved in this group of ladies. They were organizing rides on the weekends. They were called the Breeze Rides. Then it started progressing more. I joined my local cycling club. And then I was introduced. Somebody mentioned about Zwift, and I thought, I think that would be a very nice thing to try. So I got a trainer, and I started Zwifting probably 6 years ago.
Wow,
that was a long time ago. Yeah. So I really got hooked by the feeling of the community. The Zwift community, the women's community, is really, really, really good. You feel very encouraged and supported. So from then I joined a couple of teams, just to get my feet in. And then that's when I met Jamie in one of the teams that we were in together. And then it clicked. It clicked. We just have a good relationship. We pretty much have the same sort of views on what we like in a team. But then I'll let Jamie to continue how we progress.
You girls met on a Zwift team, and then you decided to create your own team, like out of all of your knowledge of
Kind of.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, we became very good friends during the time that we raced together. Exactly. Karla was like, she looked after me, essentially, basically. And that, the more time you spend with someone, you form this friendship. So we're friends, and that you start chatting about things more than just Zwifting. You start chatting about, life and what you want to do and where the team's going and all that kind of stuff. So she also helped me, because when I had the accident, I wasn't particularly happy. I couldn't move. I had a back injury, a neck injury, and I was supposed to be going to Island Games in a few months after that. So I was a bit upset and desperately trying to get my fitness back. And Karla was those words of wisdom and sort of calming influence, and sort of was about maybe. So we'd been on the team together maybe a year when.
Maybe 2.
But when we started sort of with the first round of the premiere, COVID, when COVID hit, our team was invited. The team before AEONIAN were invited to these. I can't remember what they were called, but premiere races, the first
invitational
round,
races.
Yeah, the invitationals, the first round of invitationals, and we raced the pros at the beginning of COVID, and Karla managed us essentially. And there was a select few from each of the teams who would race the elite riders. And from that experience, you get to race these pros, and you almost feel like a pro. You're being managed. Karla's managing us, and you feel like these many pros, and we're like, well, we kind of want to create that space for everyone, not just the your top best at that point in time who are able to compete with the elites. We want to make that available to everybody. We want everybody to have that level of racing in their own sort of category space, exactly, and it not be a case of only the best of can ride against the elites. Everybody can have their own you're racing against yourself and people in your group. So it
category.
wanted to create that feel for everybody. And that's kind of where the discussions of AEONIAN sort of came into play, because there wasn't really that around. There was either your A groups and then you had your socials. So even though the teams had multiple categories, the focus, you either raced higher or you were more of a social group. And I feel like the first vision, I mean, it's grown, it evolved over time, but the very, very first vision was to basically create that space for everybody, and have that sort of support and structure to allow people to grow.
Just to be a racing team, a full racing team, but I don't think there are many on Zwift.
There definitely weren't at that point in time.
Yeah,
because you could have 100 or so women on a team, and you've only got 20 actually racing, so you don't actually know each other too well. You don't know. It's more difficult to understand. And I think part of what makes AEONIAN so great is the fact that we have our categories, and they're at a level where everybody knows everybody and their strengths and their weaknesses, and you can nurture that, you can understand, and you can race with that, rather than having a group of people where you don't really know where they're at.
And they all just come together, race, and then kind of leave. Yeah. So that's where you guys, you ladies put together, you start bringing more people in and then building up the C, like the D, C, B, like the A, B, C, D categories. Cause I noticed like within those categories, you kind of have categories, right? Cause you have racing levels, like you have like the higher, well, maybe not in D, but I think like in C and B, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what I noticed like for me this year. But is that, so that's how you kind of, you started, did you start recruiting or did you just have friends? Okay, so let's go back to how you started and decided, because I'm just like I said, I've got so many questions. So how you decided to break from your team to create AEONIAN? And you have to you have to talk about the name too, because remember, Karla, I'm like, how do you say this? How do you pronounce it?
It was a big decision to actually break, to be honest. I think we might have lost
Right.
Karla for a second.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're in a team, it's working. It's working. There was absolutely nothing wrong with where we were. It was just we wanted to create a bit more and have a bit more ownership, I suppose.
Yeah. So is it because that particular team didn't want to grow that you decided that it was time to kind of like break off and create your own?
I mean, Karla, you were more involved than I was, but from where I was, the team was already established with a lot of people, a lot of riders and their management groups. So they have their own vision. So trying to steer them in a different way wouldn't have really been fair to what they've created and what they were already working towards. So we felt, Karla, please jump in, that it would be best for us to do our own thing. And so Karla's like visionary and I'm kind of more support, I think. we think similarly, we want the similar things.
Yeah,
and
I
then
think
together
I think we really wanted a full racing team and have people supported with racing in every single category. So I think for that point we felt that our views were evolving and we wanted to move on to create a new environment for women, especially because there are not many women's team, fully women's team on Zwift. So we thought that was the best way to go. And it was great. I mean, at the beginning it was very scary because
there was 5 of us, was there?
Yeah, personally, I was on this team for over 2 years, and I was involved in the management, and I love those girls. I mean, that team will always have a big part of my heart, and make me discover the skills and the new passions that I discovered through Zwift and cycling, and it was just great. But I think we just continue evolving, and we we wanted to move on. But it was lovely. I was the race director there, and with my knowledge and Jamie's knowledge, so we just put our heads together and we created AEONIAN, which was really good. It's been very good. I'm very
So
proud.
how did you come up with the name? Because I was like, how do you pronounce that? I'm like, what?
And I'm not sure, Nathan, and I think it took Nathan and Dave a little while to get that right.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it was onion. No.
Yeah, it was an onion in there. Yeah, I remember that. That's right.
So what's the meaning behind the name?
The name, the meaning behind, we wanted to find a name that was strange, of course. No, I'm kidding. Something that it means, long lasting. Something that you stay, for a long time, and then you unity. And for some reason, I don't know if it was me, Jamie, or was somebody else.
No, it was you. Because it was you.
I use
It also means slow and mighty.
yeah. I use
It's got many, but the overriding is infinity. It's this whole universe of coming together.
yeah.
forever.
I do like universe sort
Like
of
a
stuff.
cult.
So
A cult, yeah.
But it's not.
Google is amazing. So I just found the name and I really liked it. I like the short AEO. I like the look of it. You know, the AEO is this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely came into it because we were thinking in the future, like if we did end up registering it as an actual company, to do, we're starting to move into, we've got our kits and hats and stuff. If down the line we wanted to do that, the name isn't being used. It's
trademarked. Like you could trademark it.
We could. So that also came into it, and we're like, it looks good. We can, yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Looks good.
And it means the right thing. So yeah, that started from that.
All right. So you built you got the name, you've got 5 of you, and and obviously I see how the management came in part because you were already working in the management part of Zwift and the team with the previous group you were working with. So that kind of makes sense because let's just talk about growing that team and the amount of management that that goes with it, like even to join, because I was surprised. I had to apply, and I assumed that maybe that didn't start right away, but once you start getting more women interested, you really need to figure out, like, are they a good fit for the team, right?
Yeah, I mean, we started out, we got put our heads together, and we kind of essentially made up a AEONIAN race team Bible, I suppose. So I do business. That's what I do. So we put our heads together and we drafted this document of, okay, who's going to do what. So we had luck, our first 5 people it was just brilliant in terms of the skills that we're able to bring and put together, because we had Karla's knowledge of how do we get on Zwift, how do we get our events up, how do we do the registering of people. We had someone who was able to build a website for us. Through the couple of years that we'd been on Zwift, we knew that, okay, well, we want to know that our people are right. So we've got an ethos essentially. So, okay, how do we then make sure that we get the right people with the right ethos to join us? So having those sort of mission statement, I suppose, people are either going to be inclined to want to join or not, because we want to establish this culture of supporting and learning and development. Now, if you're just in it just to race once a year, it's not the right place, or just be there for the social side of it. We tried to put that out there straight away. And then by having those applications, which I guess, no, they weren't there for the first few weeks, but they've been there from the very beginning. Because it's just our way of gathering the data, because integrity and making sure that there's transparency. If we get it all up front, it just makes everything a lot easier to manage, I suppose.
Yeah. That's why when you joined, Sylvie, I said, okay, you need to read this document, and if
I was like,
if you're happy, you can fill the form. And also, what Jamie said is 100% true. I mean, integrity and transparency is one of the main things we want to raise, fairly. So by us asking your equipment, we are making sure that just to know what equipment that you have, and to let you know if there are any firmware updates are coming. You need to do them, and if any discrepancies were raised, then we can just we know what equipment you have, and go with it. But yeah, it was very important for us to know equipment, and that the people that joined shared the same ethos as ourselves.
Yeah, because yeah, I was surprised at the process to join, and but it also made me realize how serious this was. Not that it was serious, but I'm like, I'm joining a real organization, and that's how it felt. And so it made me want to um you know, be a good teammate and also race hard for the team. And, you know, it just gave me a sense of belonging too when I went through that whole process. It was not something that I expected. I had no clue what to expect, like just joining under a race team, because there's quite a few out there, right? They're always looking for people. And like you said, you're the only woman's, well, not the only women's team, but they um inclusively women, like 'cause you're not mixed. And so yeah, and then you kept on, like, you know, like, yeah, I mean, I think there's like 90 women on the team now, I think.
No, it's 78, I think.
70? Okay. So
78, yeah,
I
not
thought
that
we're
big.
like up and down. You're
No,
like,
no,
oh.
we one of the main things for us is we don't want to get that big, because I think it's very important to give your time, just, you
Yeah.
know, if it gets too big, then you lose that some sense of family and knowing people.
Mm-hmm.
So we no, we probably going to stay around the 80s tops, 80, a little bit more, maybe 80 plus, and that's it, pretty much it. And going back to your question, how, I mean, about the process of joining the team, there is not that we anyone can join our team. Anyone, as long, I think the main thing for me is the ethos, and it's important that they want to be part of and they want to have fun. I think that's the main
Yeah.
thing for us. If you want to have fun and want to, you know, learn, and that's the main thing for us.
There's not a hard fast.
I didn't get that. Could you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Alexis,
Oh,
stop
okay.
it.
There's
Oh,
definitely. It's okay. I'll repeat for you. No, there's definitely not a number where we said we're not going above X. It's just a case of as and when, how is the team functioning? Is that person right? And, you know, if everybody on the team is in agreement, because that's the other thing, we try and make it inclusive. And if everyone's in agreement with having that extra member, then the extra member can join. But essentially, you asked earlier, like, how did we grow? Did we recruit? We haven't really actively recruited. I think we're very fortunate with our timing of launch, September 21.
No, 20.
Was it 20?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh, we're 22 now, aren't we?
I know, yeah.
My days. Okay, yeah, so September 2020 was just before, it was literally the week before the first Zwift Racing League, I think.
Yeah.
So was there 4 of us in the A team? 4 of us on the A team. We had a couple of Bs and we had a couple of Cs at the beginning, first week, and we, on across all of our categories, we were doing quite well. And luckily for us, Nathan and Dave, we've known them because we we were part of Tour de Rica earlier in the year, so we have and being on Zwift previously, we had a bit of a relationship with Nathan and Dave, and they mentioned us. They spoke about us, what we were doing, what, you know, this new team called AEONIAN. They didn't say it that way. It created a little bit of a stir. So we had that publicity without having to actually announce much at the beginning. So that we kind of grew steadily throughout that season, and I think we ended with good. There was definitely 20 odd, I think, by Christmas.
Yeah.
We grew quite nice and steadily. Yeah. Kept adding. I think we potentially won all of our leagues, did we, that year?
I think we did. I mean, our main goal was win the A category, so we get the chance to get our in-game kit.
Yep.
Because that was very important.
And we did.
And we did.
Yeah.
Okay, so explain how that works, because obviously I would not know that, because I join, I get my kit, it's in the garage and it's there, but what did you have to do to get the kit? Like, does every team have to do this now?
Well, if you win your division, the A division, on whichever part of the world you are, like we won the the Europe one. So that means that we were promoted to the Premier Division to race with the elite. So that consequently equals that you get your in-game kit. They will make it for you, because nowadays it's very difficult and it takes a long time to request.
Very long time.
To request an in-game kit to be made by Zwift.
So like the race kit.
Yeah. So the kit you see on your avatar. If you were to go back, say 5 years, you as a new women's team, you probably would have got your Zwift kit fairly quickly. Now there are a lot of teams on Zwift, and that's a lot of time and maintenance by Zwift. So essentially you have to be an established team and you have to be very active, but it takes a long time now to get your own personal kit. Zwift Racing League was almost like a quick way to get your kit, because you have to have your kit to race with the Premier Division. So that's how we got our kit. We got it fairly quickly, but it did take a long time, because we won that division in December of 2020, but we didn't get our kit officially until...
It took 6 months. 5, 6 months, yeah.
Wow.
A long time to get our kits.
So
that goes to the developers, and the developers have to develop that kit that then goes on your avatar.
No. We have a friend of ours, Tina. She has created many in-game kits from other Zwift teams. She was very lovely, and she created the kit for us. And we just sent that to Zwift, and they have to give it to the creative designers and then put that in game, which that's what takes time to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's quite a fun process, going through what would we like our kit to look like. We were like, wow,
oh,
it could
right.
be like anything, right? So we're Karla and I and Tina, we sat down and we're like, okay, so we want this kind of image, want these kind of colors, and then Tina went away, came back with a few things. We had a play, didn't we? And that was quite early on. It was very early on that we did this, because we had our images for the launch and stuff. So then she's a designer that's by trade. She came back with this amazing image with all the colors and the codes that everybody can read, and so Zwift are able to take that and put it onto our avatars. So Zwift don't need to do designing or anything. They just need to have a good image and all the colors and codes, I suppose.
Yeah, all the vector files and the color codes.
But I suppose they have to build it on their inside. Don't.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's part we don't understand. No. But so then building the team. So by December you have like 20. Is that when Mona Lee came in, or when did Mona?
No, Mona Lee came
later.
She came later, much later.
Yeah, we raced with Mona Lee on our previous team, but Mona Lee was contracted to another team for that year.
Okay.
So it was probably a year before Mona Lee came over to us.
Okay. Yeah, because that's when I was wondering. So, but now the thing is about the back end of Zwift, because you have to create your profile, then your Zwift Power account. Like, I remember talking to Karla, and like, how many links do I have to look at before to like manage and work with? And because I was just like, which website am I looking at today, or where do I register? So was this all in creation before when you started, or did a lot of these things kind of get developed as you were, like, I guess once it really started rolling, right? Like,
Yeah, I think when you start on Swift, when that was 6 years ago, the only thing you need to have is Swift Power, which was managed
Yeah.
by some other people, that meant that any races that you would do in game, the results will be verified by Swift Power. So they make sure the people are in the right category. If you have to bump somebody in the next category, you can do that. So that's the main sort of results. So on that time, it was just that. Then the WTRL for Swift Racing League, this is new. This has been, when there was, Jamie, remind me, is that Swift Racing League has been on for a year, right?
Well, yeah, but they used it for their TTTs on Thursday. So it's been going for a while, but the same as Zwift Power, like a lot of people use Zwift, but they don't use Zwift Power, but they're not serious, like they're not into the leagues and analyzing their data. They're just on Zwift, and that's enough and for them, and that's fine. But it's when you want to actually be on a team and you want to look at your data and verify it against actual verifiable data, because sometimes you can be in a race and you're racing somebody who's doing like 9 watts a kilo and you're like, really? I'm just gonna let him go. But when you look at Zwift Power, they're not there because it's a bit unrealistic, really. So it's a lot more like that sort of data verification, like Karla said. And yeah, sorry to cut you off, but yeah, the WTRL is becoming more mainstream because everybody's doing your TTTs, and there's Zwift Racing League, and they've got a duathlon league on there now. So it's evolution.
Yeah, because that's where so the race league is, and that's where we have to go to sign up for the team. And just like a TT, you have to have a certain amount of people registered before you can, like, you can't race with 3 if you need like you have to have 4, like certain things. Like it was just like a huge learning curve. And so that's kind of where that, like, only the time trial sits, because then the other ones are more the points races that you still need a certain amount of girls racing together. Yeah. See, I think I got that at the end.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm here. Where's everybody?
No, it's a group of 6, and you can have 4.
Yeah.
You can't have 3. If you have 3, that's disqualified.
It was only Premier that you can have 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the time trial. But for the points race, you have to have a certain amount of girls racing as team members racing on the start line. Right?
Yeah, there's 6, and you, I think
for the points race.
The points races, for the points races in the team time trials, you need 6. That's your team, and for the team time trial, you cannot race with 3.
Right.
You can't, and I don't think you can race with 3 on the points races. I think
it's the minimum of 4, maximum of 6, and you want 6 to maximize your points.
Right. Because I'm just like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm here to race.
That's why you always have to finish, just in case someone has a technical glitch or
that's
something.
Right. Isn't that shitty when there's a glitch? I've had a couple of races like that.
Yeah.
One of them I didn't feel bad. I'm like, I'm so happy this happened. But I know it's like, but you can't control it, right? You're just like, oh, that person, that's like going by them, and you're like, oh, too bad. Yeah. But so tell me a little bit more about the growth of the team and your goals. So now that like a season's technically over, I know there's still girls who are racing. What is the goal for the club? Because I noticed that like sponsorship is coming in, things like that. Like, is there money wrapped around it? Like, can I ask that? Like, not that I'm gonna, but it's an interesting thing because you have so many women and like your organizational team. Okay, I think I just asked like about 5 questions, but okay, let's just start with let's start with the I guess the sponsorship, because I know it's like is it Happy Goat? No, that's not Happy.
So Stolen Goat.
Stolen Goat. No, Happy
Yeah.
Goat is a coffee shop chain down here in Canada. So Stolen Goat. Yeah, so talk about that. Like is there like are sponsors coming, or are you looking, or like the
So
bobble hats? That was cool. Love those. Got one of my own. I'm gonna get some for my team next year. But
good. So with the sponsorships, essentially we needed the year to establish ourselves, get ourselves organized, build our team, get into an even keel, I suppose. Around Christmas time, Karla, how did it happen? Did we go to them? I remember having the opening initial call with them.
Yes, we did. We built a
We did, didn't
portfolio
we?
of our team, and as we have the kit by Stolen Goat, we thought, you know, they should be the first person that we asked for a sponsorship. And they we just send the information. We have some support from another teammates to build this up in how to approach the owner of Stolen Goat. We have a meeting, and they were very delighted to accept us as the sponsors. Being sponsored by them for a whole year. We were the first custom-made customers from their company. We were the first ones. Yeah.
So sorry, Stolen
go ahead.
Goat. They've been around. It's their 10th year. They've been around. They started off with an idea. There's 2 guys at the very, very beginning, I believe. And they started off wanting this mission and vision to build, to create kit for people. And their motto is finding freedom. So whatever your freedom might be in terms of like biking, running, getting out, just basically being active, essentially. They've spent the last several years sort of creating that brand. And we initially reached out to have our kit made early 21, I think it was. It's quite early, and it might have been before, but
I think it was
end of 2020. It was quite early.
Yeah.
We just we were, like Karla said, we were their first custom design. And then since then they've done quite a few, I think.
Yes,
Some of the other teams on Zwift. They have their own team on Zwift as well. They've got their own Stolen Goat race team. But I think we waited a little while before we actually started looking for sponsorship, because one thing that we were quite keen on is we didn't want to have contracts. We're not yet a company to accept money, so that makes it a little bit more difficult if we were to actually get physical funds in, and then the way of distributing it is not particularly easy. Who does it go to, and how? So, you know, we had these conversations about, you know, how are we feeling about this? We want to make, you know, the whole idea was that we were creating a space equal for everybody. And then if we're to get sponsorship in, and, you know, they want airtime, they want, you know, we don't want the money going directly to just a few in the team. It needs to be equally accessible to everybody. So that was one thing that we were quite keen to make sure happened. Now, when we had, so yeah, like Karla said, we had several. We've always had help throughout this. We had some great minds behind the scenes pulling together images, putting together a PowerPoint. We have a member of the team who's got sponsorship, so was able to, you know, give us a little extra insight as to how we should be presenting ourselves. And then together we went to Stolen Goat and we had a conversation with them, and it sort of explained, you know, we would like to work with them. We would like to be ambassadors. What, you know, how could this look? And then they came back and said, okay, well, we can offer you X, Y, and Z for the year. How does, you know, so that was kind of where we started. And having Stolen Goat, we're also learning with them. so we can then sort of see how it works for us and for the team, what comments we're getting back from the team, and then start looking elsewhere in terms of what, you know, if we can get other sponsorships, what would people like that to look like?
Right. So they're the ones who host the official kit, like the riding kit.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. So, yeah. Now, yeah, so that's another thing, right? Because each one of you have jobs, right, that you work during the day, and it's like a full-time AEONIAN job as well. Because I run a women's cycling club. I know it's like there's always tons of stuff to do and people to answer and things like that. Is this something that is potential for like a full-time position, or like to manage the team?
I'm a full-time mom, so this
Well,
is very
that's
much
okay.
a full-time job, managing 80 people and
Yeah, I know.
make sure that the group rides are ahead. Everybody has filled their rotation on the spreadsheet, and what races they're coming in. So you need to post them and make sure that people know if they want to participate, if they're okay. I mean, I've sent an email asking if people is okay, if they're feeling okay, if they need to talk, and you know, we're here for supporting them. You know, this is a family team, and we want to make sure that they are okay and happy. But yeah, it's a lot of work. You know, the promotion, the graphics to put posts on social media.
You do that too?
Yeah, I do that too as well.
Oh my gosh, those are great. So
Yeah, I spend half of my time feeling bad for not helping as much. But you know, Karla is definitely keeps everything moving, keeps everything going and working. And if Karla gets a job, we're gonna have to. To get to 2 more Karlas, because
supplement her income, her stay-at-home mom income somehow.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in the future that's something we need to start looking into, to doing like a admin fee or something. You know, depends how things go. I think you say that, but you know, we're growing, so we'll, you know, these things we learn as we go along, don't we?
Yeah, what I did is I took a percentage of, you know, the income that came in from the club, and that's
we don't have,
it's based on every year. It's different.
We don't have admin fees. When there's money, when we've won prizes, we've tried to distribute it to.
Oh, that's right.
Because we've been the team have won. They've had some good successes, so there has been a little bit of money and prize money in that. So we've tried to distribute it to the people that contributed. So like time spent at a DS on those races, you know, that kind of thing. So we have tried to consider.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, DSs, forgot about that. That is so helpful. I learned, like, I had a technical glitch, whatever. I couldn't race, but I stayed on, and I learned a lot just by listening to the DS, like manage the other girls, because I was able to continue. I couldn't see anybody because obviously my computer had frozen, but I could still imagine what's going on because I've raced before, and, obviously you could. And so the envisionment of what she was putting out there and what the girls needed to do. And I was just like, wow, okay. So I just learned, I learned a lot from that, just to I stuck around and I cheered them on to finish, but also listening to the DS. And that's directive SPOTSIF for everybody in the audience who's wondering what that is. That's the person who talks to the team from the team car. If you watch the Tour de France, but this time we use Discord, and the DS is watching the race and the team players and giving us girls advice as to what to do. Rotations for time trial rotations, when to use the badges, those badges. Oh my God.
You mean power-ups?
So power-ups badge. Yeah, the power-ups. Sorry. So, but you know, the whatever,
Yeah.
those things. Because at first it's like, what are those and what do they do? You know, because like I didn't take time to read about them. And when should you use them? Oh, they disappear. Oh, you need to use them in a certain time frame. Oh, this is interesting. You know, so I mean, I could only imagine that for me coming in as a racer in the team being so needy in the first year that next year I'll be much better and the year after I'll be even better. And it's like a cycle of racing outside. You know, you need the 4 years to get yourself to a level where you know you are racing at an A level.
Yeah. But you obviously you're a new Swifter, so
Yeah.
we all been where you were, and it's nice that you're in a place that you can get the correct advice and support, so you know get to use the device
Mm-hmm.
as correctly as possible. But yeah, you need it's a lot. I mean, as well, when I discovered the power, I was like, what's this?
Yeah.
What do I use this for? You learn.
And
I
you
still
learn
have.
like what? Go ahead, Jamie.
So I was just gonna say, I still during a race, I'm kind of like, when?
Yeah, I know. When's
I
the
just
right
love
time to
being
use it?
exactly. I really value the DS and everything that they just keep you calm and keep, because when you're racing and someone goes off the front, it's really nice having someone, okay, wait, just steady. They've gone too early. It's you know, they keep your composure for you and often I'll ask, I'm like, how long does this one last? Like, I've got an arrow.
Yeah.
What do I, when shall I drop it? And
Yeah.
yeah.
I know. And like dropping it at the right time. Like it's like your whole setup, not to mention racing, but your whole setup in front of your face. Like your computer, your this, your like your phone. It's honestly, it takes a while to get that all coordinated. Forget about like, the racing. It's like, how many devices do I need in front of me to like properly coordinate myself and be able to like activate these things without,
Yep.
you know, missing a beat? I'm like, whoa.
And then
You know, take my hands off the handlebars, you know?
yeah, it's definitely a calculated choices that you have to make. And racing, when you do the premiere racing, it adds a whole nother level of stress with you have to have the video camera and doing the recording and yeah.
I know. I told Lee, I said, that is super cool. I want to do that. I want to be on video. I know I have to be good enough to be there, but I'm like, I can aspire to be there. I
Absolutely.
will get there. I'm not going to race outside like I used to race. I might as well do it inside. And but it really is different from just showing up to like a Tuesday night crit, you know?
Yeah, it's more stressful. You need to make sure that you have a weigh-in video 2 hours before the race.
Oh yes.
To record that, you need to record that showing the date and the time. You need to send your height as well, height video. And then you need to make sure that your Zoom call with Zwift, so for the images of you racing, are correct. And then you need to make sure that you are dual recording with your power meter, and send that up to 2 hours after the race.
What? Really?
Yeah, yes, because obviously on that level, they need to make sure that the effort that you are putting out is transparent and it's
Verified.
real.
Yeah.
So then it needs to be and you need to be verified by ZADA, which is the people that checks all your equipment. You need to send pictures. I have to send pictures of your equipment, firmware, serial numbers from your power meter, your trainer, your Garmin. Then you need to do a SATA test, which is you do it on Zwift. It's like probably an hour and a half. So
wow.
they want to see your numbers from your sprint, 15-second sprint, 1 minute power, 5 minute power, and 20-minute power. and the same thing that you do indoors, you need to provide files with those sort of power data from a location that is at least 5% incline for at least for the 5 and 20 minutes, and then you have the 15 and 1 minute that you need to send that as well. So it's a lot of files, and it's a lot of verification.
Wow.
It's a lot of admin.
I
just
think I'll
trying to
just
make
make yeah.
make it as legit as they possibly can.
It's like, how
essentially.
do you do that when everybody's like everywhere? And I guess like I'll wait till like year 3. We'll move into but I like can finally get myself organized. But
you got me, and I'm
yeah,
like,
I know I
come
got
on,
you, but I'm just like,
I
oh,
need this
Karla must
today,
hate me.
please.
I'm like, you should really assign somebody to me. So it's like, hold my hand. I mean, I never thought I would be somebody like that, but I'm just like, this is so new. And but it was so exciting. Like, you know, to just be part of that environment with all these other ladies. And I'm like, oh, I'm racing with you and like you. And this is, you know, so cool. It's not, you know, instead of like sitting on an actual start line, you know, but yeah, I learned a lot. And I'm looking forward to like next year, you know, just taking it up a level and doing a lot of stuff this summer that'll help in that respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else can I ask you girls? What else can you share? What else can I ask? I mean, like we've talked a lot, and I hope our listeners have gotten a lot of information because like when you join like an actual team. No, here's a question. Are like, so there's a lot of teams out there. Are they as like, I guess everybody has to do the same thing to be in those race leagues. Like, you know, like I'm kind of trying to think of some of the, I know there's like a local one here.
I
Oh
think
God.
as long as you have a team registered on Swift Power and you
Right.
have your riders registered on Swift Power, you can join any race.
And
And
I think where you're going with that might be, I don't think you would find a team that's as structured
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm
as
saying.
us. There are lots of teams that you can jump in and do, and they obviously have their own management and they work very hard and have their own ways of working. But I don't think you would find a team which has the same sort of, here's our ethos and here, please apply, and we need you to tell us up front before you even begin what your equipment is, and are you prepared to wear a heart rate monitor, and
I know.
you know, that kind of
I
stuff.
had
Which
basic stuff when I started. Like I went
like
for a trainer. Yeah.
we don't want to make it an elitist thing where you have to have great, like the best trainer or anything. It's just making sure that the data is, we want to put the team out as fair and transparent, and we're, you know, racing fairly and equally with other people. There might be other people who have like a dumb trainer and are not as legit.
Power pedals. That was me.
Power pedals are great.
the best
But I had a
trainer,
dumb
that's the one.
trainer and oh my God, you know, and I get it because really you should just say if you want the best experience with, you know, just being true power, you should make the leap and purchase
I
like
think
a
if you
trainer,
can,
like a
it's
real trainer.
worth the
Yeah,
investment if you can. But you know,
it is.
it's just, we just want it to be fair, and unfortunately that does mean that some people can't actually join if they've not got the power and they want to race at that level, because we want to make sure that everybody is racing fairly. So we do probably have a lot more structure around that than I'd say the average. But
well, yeah, you
yeah.
have to have certain things to race, period. You know, if you want any kind of data or like finishing properly, like like, a proper finish. But yeah, so I started with the bare bones. Like I had the power pedals, then the trainer. Then I'm like, okay, if I want to get serious, it's like making the investment in the good bike,
Yeah,
right? You
I
get
did
the
the
good
same.
trainer.
My friend had a trainer, and I literally would drive to her house, pick it up, take it to the house, do an evening workout, race, then drive it back,
Oh
because
my
I didn't want.
God.
I lived in Bermuda, so it was only 10 minutes, but
Oh,
I didn't know if I could. Firstly, I was like, am I actually going to do this? Well, am I going to? I don't want it to be one of those things where you buy it and it sits. Like I have rollers.
yeah,
I
I
bought
have
them,
those too.
and I think I've used them twice. So like I just didn't want it to be one of those investments where you're all for it, and you use it for a week or a month and then it sits. So I did that for several months to begin with, and it was just a dumb trainer. And then I was like, okay, I'm starting to work with power with my coach. So I had the pedals, so then I was working with power and just evolved over time, saved up for a little while and did it that way.
Oh, here's a question. Do a lot of the girls have coaches? I was thinking about that, like a coach to properly train for like a Zwift goal, like a race goal. Carla?
I'm
A
not
lot of
sure if
girls.
they have. I'm not sure if they have a coach for Zwift, but the majority do have coaches for their in real life season.
Probably
Right.
like 60-70% potentially.
Yeah.
Really, eh?
I'm having a break from having a coach.
You're like, I just don't want to train as much anymore.
It's not going so well, but
You're looking for somebody new.
maybe need to start looking for someone new. But because I couldn't do as much Zwifting, because I was losing the enjoyment. I've decided to take a break. But
Right.
I am one of those people where I need someone to say, okay, this week you're doing this. But there's a lot of coach kind of chat. I think, like Karla said, there are quite a few people that do have coaches, but it is more for external, longer, when they're doing races, real life, and then it just sort of try and work the Zwift into it rather than it being for Zwift.
So you did, so Jamie, you did, and Karla, did you do the Zwift Academy as part of like getting ready or getting into it to start?
No, I did it for fun.
Yeah.
Just 1 year, because then I just couldn't do it again.
Is it that long?
No, it's because they start too early in the autumn, and or I think it was September or August. So, and I don't tend to be in Zwift at that sort of. It's still, you still can enjoy being outside, and you still go the evenings until 7:30, 8 around that time. So yeah, no, I wasn't able to go to do the whole of the sessions in like 2-3 weeks. There was left when I returned. So I thought, oh, no. But this is very good. I will recommend that to you if you want to do it. I think that it tends to be around August or September, and then you get this training with these workouts that you need to do. I think you got 10 workouts and group races as well.
But you do have access to previous years if you wanted to just have a look or have something structured. You can go through the previous years. They're there.
Yeah, I'm thinking like you, August, September is a big race month, or like event, like of events and stuff outside. And it's kind of like not everybody, everybody kind of migrates in October, like, okay, ready, re-signed up for a Zwift. So yeah. So I was thinking about that because like I haven't tried. I think I tried one of their 6 weeks programs, and I'm like, okay, I just can't follow this. Like, I just want to jump on my trainer when I have time and do certain things, like, when I have the time, and having that kind of structure was kind of like, I just can't fit that in. Or maybe I just like, no. And I'll do my workouts, like strength training, but the other stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I don't like workouts. I just dislike them with my heart and soul. I just don't. I'm a free person. I like to. For me, is I like group rides, and I love races. I love races. So for
Yeah.
me, group rides, if I need to do endurance, then I just pick the ones that I know they're very chatty, and I like the conversation, and I like the interaction, and I just jump in and do my spinning. But yeah, you'll see me doing 3 or 4 races a week because I love them,
Oh my.
especially the ones that are short. I love them.
Oh, the
I
short.
like,
Yes. I love the
yeah,
short ones. Oh, under 20K? Okay, sign me up.
yeah.
I'm like,
Nothing like 50K. No, God, no.
yeah. Even the
But it's nice.
35, I'm like, but I know
Yeah,
it's
no, it's
like the
too
team
much.
stuff. But
Oh, depends the route as well, because there's some nice, routes that you can play some tactics as well. And I think that's the fun thing about racing on Swift. You can apply some of your tactics and make it more enjoyable and more, more spicy, like I call it.
yeah,
Yeah.
because you like, okay, in this race, I'm going to try this. And I'm not going to care about my placement, right? I'm just going to go out and try some tactics. And that's
Hmm.
kind of, yeah, that is kind of fun. But
Yeah, it's
so,
fun.
yeah. Well, I think I've got all my questions answered. I just want to thank you, ladies, again, and thank our audience for tuning in and catching this episode, because I think there's more conversation that needs to be happening around this, women in Swift. Just watching some of our teammates like race, that it's like the most epic thing. It's you're just like, oh my god. So just being part of this, I'm super grateful, and I'm glad that I'm part of this team, because I do like the organization and the structure myself. I appreciate it a lot, even though I'm very, like I said, very needy in the first year. Hopefully I could be one of those helpers for the next new woman coming in, and be able to direct her. But yeah, I really thank you. Thank you so much for jumping in here and making this happen. I really appreciate you, especially being in the UK. It's like what, 8 p.m. 8
Quarter past
8:30.
8. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, thank you everybody. And so where can people follow Aeonian?
They can follow us on Instagram if they go
Yeah.
at AORT. And they can go to Facebook and they can type AEONIAN social and they can find us there.
Excellent. Well, thanks a lot, Jamie-Lee and Karla. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And everybody, don't forget to follow the podcast on Instagram as well, at Secrets from the Saddle Podcast, and sign up for our cycling newsletter so you don't miss an episode, and lots of cycling tips. So with that, thank you very much and have a great evening. Thanks, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God, everyone. I hoped you absolutely enjoyed that episode with Karla and Jamie-Lee, wrapped around Swift and the Women's Race League. If you're in the Swift world, you might be able, you understand it, but if you're in the racing, like true racing Swift world, it's just absolutely mind-boggling, the amount of work that goes into the team. And so I was really super appreciated that they found the time for me, being on the team, getting to know me, and being on the podcast with me. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. And ladies, if you're looking to get serious about being on a well-organized race team, I highly recommend that you reach out to Karla at AEONIAN, and she'll put you through the process of coming on board. But like I said, I think they're keeping it small, but you never know, people leave, people come. So with that, have an amazing day, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please share and please follow on Instagram. Take care, guys.